You're crouched in the dark, maybe 200,000 years ago, somewhere in East Africa, and the fire has burned down to embers. The hunt today went badly. Everyone is hungry, tense, and on edge. And then, for no reason at all, someone reaches out in the dark and brushes a hand against your side, just to get your attention, just to tell you to move over, and your whole body convulses. Not in pain, in something else. A sound comes out of you that you've never deliberately made before. Your group turns to look. And here's the thing. You don't know what just happened to you. You have no word for it. You just know that touch, in that one spot, did something to your body that you could not control. And somehow, it didn't feel like an attack. This is the story of one of the strangest sensations the human body has ever produced, and how it might have started not as a joke, not as a game, but as something far stranger. A warning system, an accident, and eventually, somehow, one of the oldest forms of bonding our species ever discovered. So imagine the earliest version of this. Not a human yet. Some distant ancestor. Small, vulnerable, moving through tall grass or low brush, and something brushes against its side unexpectedly. A branch, an insect, the touch of another animal it didn't see coming. The body's reaction is immediate and violent. A full-body flinch, a recoil, every muscle in that exposed area contracting at once to protect itself. That flinch is not tickling yet. That flinch is pure survival. But it's the same nerve pathway, the same muscles, the same panic that, millions of years later, would get repurposed into something completely different. Now move forward, into early hominin groups, small bands of our actual ancestors, grooming each other, picking through fur and skin the way primates still do today, fingers running along ribs and necks and underarms, searching for parasites, dirt, anything that didn't belong. And every so often, that searching touch would land somewhere unexpected, somewhere sensitive, and trigger that same old defensive flinch. Except now, there's a difference. The hand doing the touching belongs to someone trusted. A mother, a sibling, someone whose touch, moments before, had already proven safe. And here is where something genuinely strange might have happened for the very first time. The flinch still fired. The body still jolted, still curled inward, still reacted the way it always had to unexpected contact on a vulnerable spot. But because the threat never followed, because nothing bad happened next, the brain had no script for what this feeling actually was. It wasn't fear, because nothing dangerous occurred. It wasn't quite calm either, because the body was still racing. It sat in a strange, unclaimed space between the two. And in that gap, something new might have been born. A sound, not a scream, not quite a cry. Something lighter. The earliest, crudest version of a laugh. Nobody decided this would happen. Nobody designed it. It was almost certainly an accident of wiring, the same kind of accident that gives us hiccups or goosebumps, leftover circuitry doing something slightly different than what it was built for. But unlike a hiccup, this accident felt good. And anything that feels good, that happens between two members of a tightly bonded early human group, tends to get repeated. Picture it happening across 100,000 fires, in 100,000 small bands of early humans scattered across Africa long before any of them had a name for themselves. A parent's fingers finding a child's ribs while grooming, or while playing, or while simply trying to get them to stop crying about something else entirely, and that same strange jolt firing, and that same strange sound coming out. Lighter every time, more practiced every time, until eventually it wasn't an accident anymore. Until eventually, someone figured out they could do it on purpose. That moment, the first deliberate tickle, the first time someone reached for another person's ribs specifically to produce that reaction rather than stumbling into it by accident, is completely invisible to archaeology. It left no tool, no bone, no mark on any cave wall. There is no fossil tickle. There never will be. The entire behavior happens and disappears in the same instant it occurs, which means we will never find the exact date, the exact group, the exact pair of hands. But here's why we can still talk about it with real confidence instead of pure guesswork. Because the same reflex, almost identical in its mechanics, shows up far outside the human family entirely. In 1999, a researcher tickling young rats on their bellies recorded chirping sounds above human hearing range, the same acoustic signature rats use during play, meaning some version of this reflex was already running in mammals tens of millions of years before primates existed at all. And separately, scientists recording chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans during play found vocalizations closely related to human laughter. More closely related the closer the species sits to us on the family tree. Which tells us early humans weren't inventing this feeling from nothing. They inherited an ancient reflex that already existed in the animals before them, and what early humans actually did, the truly human part, was take that old defensive flinch and turn it into culture. Because once a group of early humans discovered that this reaction could be triggered on purpose, it almost certainly stopped being an accident and started being a tool. Think about what grooming actually was for early human bands. It wasn't just hygiene. It was hours spent in physical contact with the people you depended on most for survival, building trust through touch, the same way it still does in primate groups today. A tickle landing in the middle of that grooming session wasn't a distraction from the bonding. It was the bonding intensifying. A shared moment where one person's hands proved, again, that they could be trusted near the most vulnerable part of another person's body, and nothing bad happened. Now think about what it would have felt like the first few times this happened to someone who had no framework for it at all. No word for funny. No concept of a game. Just a sudden loss of control over your own body triggered by someone you trusted, ending in a sound you'd never made before and couldn't entirely explain. It would have been disorienting, maybe even a little frightening, the first time, before the pattern became familiar. Imagine being an early human child, getting tickled by an older sibling for the first time, with absolutely no cultural context telling you this was supposed to be fun. Your body convulses, your breath catches, a strange sound forces itself out of you, and you have no idea, in that exact moment, whether what just happened to you was good or bad. Only after it happened enough times, only after it kept ending safely, would the brain finally relax into recognizing the pattern. This is not dangerous. This is something else. This is play. And once early humans had that concept, once a group understood that triggering this reaction in each other deliberately, safely, repeatedly, created laughter and closeness instead of fear. It would have spread fast, the way useful behaviors spread through small, tightly knit bands of people who watched each other constantly and copied what worked. A parent who could calm a fussy infant by lightly running fingers along its belly and producing that magic, disarming giggle had a tool other parents would want immediately. A group that bonded through shared physical play, tickling among them, had a slight edge in cohesion over a group that didn't. None of this needed to be conscious or planned. It just needed to feel good and work. And it would have kept happening, generation after generation, exactly the way it still does around your own living room. There would have been a darker discovery too, eventually, because every tool humans develop for connection they also eventually learn can be turned the other way. If the right touch, in the right spot, from a trusted hand, produces helpless laughter and bonding, then the same touch from an untrusted hand, held against someone's will, with no way to escape it, produces something closer to torment. Centuries later, this dark inversion would actually get formalized, ancient Rome reportedly punishing prisoners by coating their feet in salt and letting an animal lick it off for hours, deliberately weaponizing the exact same nerve pathway that around a different fire made a child shriek with joy. Early humans almost certainly discovered both sides of this at roughly the same time, because you cannot really have one without eventually stumbling into the other. The difference between the two was never the touch. It was always whether the person being touched had any power to make it stop. So when did ancient humans actually get ticklish? The honest answer is that the feeling itself, the raw nervous system reflex, was never something humans got at all. It was already sitting in the body, inherited from ancestors going back tens of millions of years, long before anything human existed to feel it. What ancient humans actually did, the real moment worth marking, the real birth of this whole strange tradition, was something quieter and arguably more impressive. Somewhere in the deep, undocumented past, a group of early humans, sitting close together for warmth and safety, the way they did every single night, noticed that an old defensive flinch, when triggered gently by someone trusted, didn't feel like danger anymore. It felt like something worth repeating. And they repeated it, parent to child, sibling to sibling, friend to friend, for 100,000 years, and counting, turning a leftover piece of survival wiring into one of the simplest, oldest, most reliable ways two people can prove to each other that they're safe. So next time someone gets you right in the ribs, completely unannounced, and you collapse into laughter you cannot control, no matter how hard you try, you are not just being silly, and you are not just being a kid again for a second. You are doing the exact same thing some nameless ancestor did beside a fire 100,000 years ago, taking an ancient alarm built to detect danger and choosing, on purpose, again, to let someone you trust set it off.